Okay, welcome back. I'm here with Mr. Sebastian Haresco. My name is John Anderson, and welcome back to NFS. So we're going to be talking about Mr. McGregor once again. Of course, the historic comeback and, just everything that's been going on in the MMA world as usual. So, yeah, 40-second knockout, TKO, whatever you want to call it, just destruction. What did you think of Mr. McGregor's return?
There's a lot to think about, but there's also not a lot to think about because it was 40 seconds. But from the start, it was just all McGregor. He looked really good. I know he started off by just going for the punch. Cerrone ducked it, and they just got tied up, and he used those shoulder strikes. And I guess that's what everyone's talking about now. Um, he was phenomenal in a way. I mean, he did everything he was supposed to do to Cerrone in a way. People were saying or even he was saying like he'll be a better version of the 2016 McGregor, and I don't see a reason why we can't deny that now. He looked fantastic. He looked like the old dynamic striker that he is, that we know he is, and it'll be interesting to see where he goes from here. I mean, it's nice to see he is able to shake off the rust. Well, there was no rust,
Yeah, didn't look like it
and
was.
yeah, so it's nice to see that like maybe he's overcome that, and then I guess at this point it's just staying active, and yeah, I'm happy for the guy, to be honest. I'm happy for him, and it's good for the sport, it's good for everyone, and well, we're still talking about it to this day, so we'll see what happens this year.
Yeah, you're right. It really is important for the sport for him to be back and
Yeah.
excelling at kind of like, the kind of things that he did against Cerrone. I mean, like I've never seen him look so energetic
Yep.
and come out so strong and so wild like that. And it just completely smothered Cowboy and it just worked so well.
Hmm.
Those are the kind of things that, maybe you would have liked to see more against Khabib or Nate Diaz in either fight. But I do like the fact that he's kind of committing to welterweight, at least for what it seems. I'd love to see a matchup against Masvidal or Usman down the road potentially, but I think that Khabib fight's definitely still hanging in the balance there, and there's still a chance for that to happen. But I think at the same time, Khabib might not want that. However, that doesn't matter because what's really important is, the performance that he put on and, what that is going to mean for the sport in 2020. I think this could easily be one of the biggest years for the UFC. You
Oh
already
yeah.
see, next month we have Jones Reyes, we have Khabib Tony down the road. We have a lot of good title fights going on and a lot of international champions happening. So
Yeah.
Conor McGregor coming right back into the fold of things is going to
Yeah.
be fantastic.
Hmm. Yeah, and like I was also surprised too because none of us even heard up until the fight that McGregor would be or could be the first person to have knockouts in three divisions. Like
Yeah.
there was no talk about that at all. And then, he announced that during his post-fight interview, and I'm like, that's typical McGregor. He's always thinking ahead, and like, no one even knew about that. So I
Hmm.
guess that was kind of pretty cool too. And just the way he won in general, it was good. And yeah, I'm looking forward to this year. It's gonna be a good year. And like you said, we got some big fights coming up, and hopefully we'll see him soon.
Yeah. So what did you think about, I guess, on the other side of things, Cowboy and taking that fight, and of course, what we were alluding to earlier with Stephen A. and his involvement on that card, and being up there, analyzing with Joe Rogan, and then saying what he did about Donald Cerrone, which was essentially that he quit and he was in there for the payday.
You know, in a way, like Stephen A. I do disagree with him in a way. Like, let's be honest, he's not there. He didn't quit. No one's gonna quit once they get in the octagon. But let's be honest, it was a big payday for him. Um, it was probably the biggest fight in his career. So to say that like he just quit, I don't think that's right. It's a shame that like it was him going up against McGregor and how he lost. Like 40 seconds, he's a legend, and no one wants to see that. Even Conor respects him. But like I might have to disagree mostly with Stephen A. Uh, you can't just say like someone's gonna quit once again in the octagon. Like it's not like a team sport.
Hmm.
anything can happen inside there, and like we saw what happened. Um, Hopefully Cerrone will bounce back. I know he still wants to fight, which is good. Just he's lost what now? Three of his last four. Like and they're all knockouts.
Hmm. So
Essentially, well, I guess Ferguson they stopped it. I mean, you know,
TKO.
yeah. So yeah, we'll see what happens there, but I don't think it's right to say like he quit or like he was just there for the payday. It was a big payday, but
Yeah.
it's not right to say.
Yeah, and like one of the things that stood out to me from all of that was that he said that, Cowboy finally got that fight that he always wanted, and he folded under the lights and everything like that. I mean, he's been in situations and in fights that have been tougher than that, or have been kind of on the grand scale of things, like more important, like say
We fought for
Rafael
the belt.
Santos or Ben Henderson, I think was his other title fight. So he's been here before, and you saw even in his last fight with Justin Gaethje, he didn't look very good in that fight at all. He got pretty much annihilated. The guy is just he's regressing a little bit, and maybe that's more on the matchmakers for deciding to pit him against McGregor, but everybody wants that money fight, no doubt. And Cowboy's the kind of guy who's willing to fight anybody,
Yeah.
anytime. It doesn't matter how much time he has to train, like he's always ready. So yeah, I guess I was a little offended by what Stephen A said. Um, to say that he quit, Cowboy would never be a guy who quits. Sure, he loses and he folds maybe occasionally in big moments. Many fighters do.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, I wasn't too happy with those comments. And
Mhm.
Cowboys he fights the best of the best. So what can you
Yeah.
expect? I mean, when you're going against Tony Ferguson, who's lost what one fight in the UFC, Justin Gaethje, who's only lost to some G's, so I don't know. I wasn't a fan of that.
Yeah, for sure. And like, you can't just say he's gonna quit and then in his interview he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna keep fighting." Like, it doesn't even add up.
Yeah, exactly.
Um, Although I would say that like, it would have been nice for the matchmakers to kind of realize this last year when I think he beat what Alex Hernandez, he beat Iaquinta. Like that would have been a good time to make this fight. But I know McGregor got hurt last July with his hand or whatever.
Hmm.
But like that would have been a good time to make this fight. Instead of Cerrone coming off two losses, people knew he was kind of regressing, but I don't know. It is what it is. We'll see him back soon, probably anyways. So
Yeah, for sure. It's Cowboy. You
yeah.
can always count on him being back, and yeah, that's why I think all this stuff is being blown out of the water just for no reason.
Hmm.
And I think it's just the I guess the popularity of McGregor brings that kind of talk into MMA that I think doesn't belong there. So yeah, I've always been a fan of Cowboy. Regardless of whether he wins or loses, I know he always brings it. So yeah, we'll see him back. Um, but yeah, so I guess for this year and everything like that, what's one dream matchup you have for Conor McGregor?
Well, besides the obvious rematch, which is it's gonna happen, it'll happen. Honestly, for me, I'd like to see, and I'll always say this, I'd like to see the trilogy.
Oh
You
yeah,
know,
Diaz.
yeah, like to be honest, for that trilogy to happen, it doesn't really matter. Like if anyone's coming off a loss or win, like everyone wants to see it.
Hmm.
Connor just won. Diaz, obviously, like he lost his last fight, but like people want to see that too.
Hmm.
So like, why not? He has to wait for Khabib and Tony to play out. I'm sure Usman and Masvidal they're gonna go at it. So
Yeah.
what's left? He could fight Gaethje, but really he has nothing to gain by fighting Gaethje, honestly. So I'd say that's a dream matchup. Hopefully it happens, but with Diaz, things take time.
Hmm.
Other than that, even for Cowboy, like I don't know, like who's he gonna fight? Dos Anjos? I mean, Dos Anjos just lost.
Yeah, it depends where he wants to continue, right? Like it's
Yeah,
McGregor. It's whether he wants to kind of compete during the tail end of his career at 170, where he
yeah,
seems to be a little bit more natural, or 155, where it seems that he has the better performances.
yeah.
So, that's definitely going to be something down the road for Cowboy, no doubt. Um, but to respond to what you said, yeah, Diaz, I haven't thought about that one very much, I guess, because everyone's so focused on Khabib. Khabib is even, making social media posts.
Yeah.
So he's trying to maybe hype it up, even though he said that he doesn't want it. So yeah, there's a lot of hype around a lot of these matchups, and Masvidal was another one. But I think you're right. I think Usman versus Masvidal is probably the right matchup. Especially now that Tyron Woodley is fighting Edwards.
Yeah.
It's just like there's not a lot to make at welterweight. So it's either fight Diaz sooner rather than later because Khabib's not going to fight during the summer.
Yeah.
And I mean it's either that or Floyd Nate or Khabib. So
It's interesting too because like his coach Ariel Helwani asked him like, "What's your dream matchup besides the rematch?" And he said Justin Gaethje at 170, which I don't know if you heard about that, but like yeah, he said that I think the last Monday. But like I don't know, that's kind of interesting too. Like he wants to fight maybe lightweights at welterweight so they don't have to cut. But like in my opinion, even fighting Gaethje, you don't gain anything from it. Like okay, you solidify yourself as the number one contender at lightweight, but let's be honest, he's gonna jump Gaethje no matter what. Um, Besides that, like people want to see McGregor Masvidal. I'd like to see it too, but I think Masvidal should go for the belt. Um, and also that, like I thought during his interview too, like McGregor, he was calling out everyone, but he didn't say anyone's name.
yeah,
So
that's
like
true.
he's pretty smart about that because the camera was zooming in on Masvidal, but like he never actually said like I'm calling you out. So like he's always thinking ahead, and obviously Masvidal wants that payday. I'm
Hmm.
sure we'd all like to see that fight, but in my opinion, let's go for the trilogy. It's time.
Yeah, and with the way that Dana White seems to like to, I guess, pamper, Connor a little bit with some of these matchups and everything, I could definitely see Nate being the next one up because it seems like it's a probably like a tier higher on like the degree of difficulty for Connor because obviously it's a guy that he's been to war with once, lost to once. So, I mean, a third one kind of does make sense. And you know what, with where he's at 170,
Yeah,
it's probably right to do Usman Masvidal and match them up. But I would love to see Justin Gaethje, but I think you're right when you say that there's not much to gain because Gaethje's going to be a war, and there's going to be a lot of damage coming out of that. Where necessarily with Nate, I think you can probably get out of that probably mostly unscathed. So I mean, although I think both fights would be wars for one point or another, I think you know Dana's going to want to give him the easiest matchups possible to get him probably back up to that Khabib fight because you all know that that's the one to make. That's the money fight, the true UFC money fight. Like that's where everybody's going to tune in.
yeah,
So
and
yeah,
it makes sense too. I was gonna say it makes sense too. Like if he's at 170 now, like it makes sense to fight Nate again at 170. It's not like he's at 145 and he comes up to 170.
yeah,
Like and right now it makes sense. Like you're at this weight, let's do it. But go back to Gaethje real quick. I think he's the biggest loser out of all this. Like he wasn't even there for the fight. No one mentioned him,
hmm,
and it is what it is with him. But like, it's kind of too bad, I guess. Like, you know, yeah, I'm sure they offered him Connor, and who knows? Who knows? But
yeah. Like he definitely deserves it the most out of all the other lightweight contenders because
yeah,
obviously Tony's gonna fight Khabib, so like I could see maybe Justin Gaethje getting a rematch with Poirier or something like that, potentially, or something along those lines. But you're right, man. Like it kind of sucks, even how well he's performed and all these knockouts and everything. I think he's got three straight. It's
yeah,
not going to be enough because Connor's popularity, the Khabib and Tony matchup, all these different factors are coming in, and all these different politics, and then you're the guy that's kind of left in the dust because of one man, and that's McGregor. So yeah, like he's definitely shaking up things, and it's making for a lot of interesting storylines, and people are really excited to see where he's going to end up. But yeah, Gaethje, I don't know where he goes from here.
just thinking like with McGregor, like we know Khabib and Tony are fighting in April.
Hmm.
Is there a main event in May? I think they're doing Brazil in May.
Yes, you're
So
right,
they
but
probably
I don't
won't.
think there's a main event yet.
Yeah, but they're not gonna put Conor in Brazil unless he's fighting like there's no one like Aldo. He's not gonna fight Aldo again.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe Cejudo Aldo gets matched up for that.
Yeah, so then we're looking at June or July, and I know he said he wants to come back before the summer. But then again, like this card that just happened, they put that in. So maybe they'll put another card for McGregor. Who knows before then? But
It's
yeah, it makes sense to like get one fight in and then maybe look at the rematch with Khabib closer to the end of the year. Um, but yeah, we'll see what happens. I mean, like he said, like he'll prepare if someone you know doesn't come in April, whether it's Khabib or Tony if they pull out. But I don't know. I don't think I'd take that fight on short notice either. But
no, I mean, yeah, like judging by how the first fight went, like you
yeah,
need like more than an entire camp to prepare for Khabib, and I think even that wouldn't be enough. And then with Tony, that's a wild matchup. I've never even really thought about that matchup. It hasn't really like come into fruition at any point like during
yeah.
their careers. So, I mean, that would be a crazy one. Like if Tony managed to beat Khabib and then that was the fight to make, then I'd be
Mhm.
like, shit.
Yeah.
Um,
The
but
only
yeah,
like
I'm honestly not in love with the Khabib rematch just because I feel like it'll just go the same way, and it's just going to
yeah.
be process over again, and then maybe McGregor doesn't have the inspiration to come back again, and it's just kind of a waste of everyone's time. So I don't
Yeah.
know. I think my favorite matchup was the Masvidal one, and I thought it made sense because now he wants to fight at 170, but if he wants to shoot for Khabib, then I guess go for it.
Mhm. I mean, like you made a good point. Like if let's hypothetically he loses again to him, like what is he gonna want to do at that point? Like he lost to him twice. You can't ask for a third fight. So then you know like there's still options for him at that point. It's not like he has to win or lose uh for people to tune in, but like that's definitely a risk. But that's him. That's who he is. Like he doesn't really care.
Hmm.
Even like the Diaz rematch, if he lost to Diaz twice, like he was willing to take the risk. But the also possibility too is he goes for that 170 belt. Like he could be the first ever to have three belts. That's also another option too. But I don't like the Usman matchup either as much. So maybe he should wait to see if Masvidal pulls that off, or well, his options. Let's just say his options right
Yeah,
now.
there's plenty of fights out there waiting for him with plenty of opponents who don't have anybody yet.
Yeah,
Again, like it's all on Conor because he's such a wild card sometimes. You never know what he's thinking, and even though he's got this plan, like we kind of talked about this in the last episode, even though he's got this plan, who knows if he's going to stick with it? Despite how well it's gone so far, based off last week. Um, so yeah, I think you're right. Like Usman, that is a nightmare matchup.
yeah.
Masvidal, I think that has a lot of fireworks, but he's probably gonna have a tough time with that if that ever happened. But yeah, Diaz. I like what you said there because I don't really think about that one too much, but it might be the one that ultimately makes the most sense.
Yeah, like for both people, like Diaz, he's gonna come back for the money for sure. He'll come back for the trilogy. They're both at 170. It's like what you said. It's the next level above Cerrone.
Hmm.
And then building towards the Khabib rematch. So it kind of makes sense, but just getting everyone to the table and agreeing because that's always a nightmare too with them. So
Yeah, those
other
two
than that,
especially.
like. Other than that, I'm looking forward to the year. I hope we see him soon. I hope it's not like he fights in January and then he fights, Khabib in December, November. Then it's
Yeah,
just like,
just
yeah,
waits around, and
yeah,
then all of a sudden we have Gaethje waiting around, we have McGregor waiting around, we have Moss
yeah.
waiting
Just
around.
holding the line, like it just,
Exactly.
yeah. So he's like the biggest piece, but something has to move. So
Yeah, exactly.
other than that, like we do have some good cards coming up, like you said. Like we got Jones and Reyes. Uh, we got like what Izzy and Romero coming up.
Hmm.
Uh, what else do we have?
You have Joanna and
Oh yeah.
coming, which will be. I'm actually kind of excited for that one.
That's on the Izzy card, right?
Oh yes, sorry, that's the co-main event. Sorry, I thought it was a main event.
Oh, that's a good cool main event.
Yeah, that's perfect.
And then you also have like, well, it was Whitaker and Cannonier. Now it might be Till and Cannonier. Who knows at this point? But
Well,
that's
they
also
replaced
like,
it with what was it, Brunson and
oh
Shabazian.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
That might be their like, oh, sorry guys, here's your like replacement fight, which is like it's an okay fight, but I'd rather see Till and Cannonier or
Yeah,
Whitaker and Cannonier by a mile.
yeah. I like to see that fight too because like Till's on the same card as Izzy. And they're fighting for the belt. Like that'd be a good time to, show it off.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
and then we ended off in April with Khabib Tony, and then Rose and Andrade on that card.
Yes, that's another fight I'm pumped for.
Yeah, and then I guess in May, like what you said, they're talking about Cejudo and Aldo, which I don't know. Aldo's just coming off a loss, although he should have won. But
Yeah. I mean,
um,
Henry was all for that though, which is like kind of funny. He going right after the loser, like, oh yeah, yeah, I'll take the loser of that fight.
yeah,
Like, I'm not really sure what's up with that.
yeah.
He's ducking Joseph Benavidez and all these
Oh yeah,
guys.
that fight's coming up too.
Benavidez and
The flyweight belt, no?
yeah, that's right. Uh, no, like he's not fighting for the belt. I don't think. Oh
Really?
wait, no, is that
Yeah.
for like interim?
No, that's like because no, the Cejudo got stripped of it.
So it is for the belt.
Yeah, and it's on like a fight night card, like a ESPN whatever.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, that's right. You sent me that one. It's Figueroa or whatever
Yeah,
his last name is.
yeah.
Yeah, okay. Wow, I just thought that was like a 3 rounder.
No, 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 no. That's actually coming up too. So yeah, we have some. It's gonna be a good first quarter of the season here.
Hmm.
Uh, and we'll see what happens. Like what you said, Khabib's not gonna be around in the summer. Uh, so the biggest fight they could make is obviously McGregor and someone else, or Masvidal and Usman or something. Although I would like to see, Colby back into this. Like I would like to see a second matchup with Colby and Usman. That was a good fight.
That was a great fight. Yeah.
Yeah. So like, I don't want Colby to be like the next Woodley and Dana just hates him and it's nothing. I want to see him back.
Well, yeah, I feel like Colby can sell fights now, in a way that he couldn't before. And I
Yeah.
feel like that Usman fight was good enough that people are gonna like remember both of those guys. So, honestly, like a rematch between them isn't the worst thing I've ever heard.
No.
Um, but yeah, like I would really love to see Usman Masvidal, and with that fight, I truly don't know who's gonna take that one. So yeah, like there's a lot of fights that are kind of up in the air that Dana could make if that's what he chooses. But yeah, I think a lot of it does kind of revolve around Conor at the end.
It's too bad. It's too bad Colby lost that fight because if he was the champion, then like, McGregor could have won after him, or like he could have jumped everyone just to fight Colby for the belt. Like, well, how
Yeah,
many
probably. And you already
Yeah.
know Colby would have like called him out and
Oh,
have
for
been
sure.
like arrogant about it, the whole thing. So,
Yeah. But yeah, we'll see what
Usman doesn't
happens.
have that kind of personality. So I feel like nobody's even really thought about that fight for a second.
Yeah, but we'll see what happens. It's gonna be a good year for sure.
Yeah, I'm really pumped. I'm really pumped.
Yeah, and I guess we'll just ignore the rest of the card because the rest of the card sucked, honestly. Like the co-main event with Holman and Pennington, it was,
Yeah,
you know,
as a snoozer.
yeah,
That's okay. That's gonna happen on cards like that sometimes. The big draw is the main event, and you just kind of have to wait it out. But yeah, I'm hoping in like definitely some of these upcoming cards. There's some juicy fights on the co-main or on the main card or even
yeah,
in the prelims.
yeah.
Um, like Sean O'Malley's finally back
Oh
in the
yeah,
prelims. I think that's 248, if I'm not mistaken. I'll have to
pretty
double
sure
check
like
that,
pretty sure
but.
like Cody Garbrandt's coming back too. So
Yeah, Garbrandt. Yes, it's such an exciting like first half of 2020, man.
yeah, man, it's gonna be good. But I don't know, is there anything else we should touch up on, or we should just
No,
wait
that's
until?
probably it. Yeah, we'll wait probably like a week maybe for Jones Reyes, give our
Yeah,
predictions.
yeah. But yeah. Anyways, that's it for now. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the fight just as much as we did. And let us know what your thoughts are on the fight. And yeah, actually leave us like a comment. And see who do you guys think?
Absolutely. Like and subscribe too if you're feeling it, right?
Yeah. Jack, anything else on the
That's it.
agenda? All
Nope.
right, guys.
Go.
All right,
Thanks
guys.
for watching.
Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you in a couple weeks for the Reyes and Jones preview.